Look at other cases. Summer Wells in Tennessee disappeared from her home in June of 2021. She was 5 years old. Massive searches. Volunteers, professionals, dogs, helicopters, everything. And she's never been found. Not a trace. Same with Sebastian Rogers, also in Tennessee. He disappeared in February of 2024. He was 15, old enough to cover serious ground if he wanted to. And despite extensive searches, he hasn't been found either. These cases haunt me. They probably haunt you too. Because they represent every parent's worst nightmare. Your child vanishes, and despite everyone's best efforts, despite resources and technology and sheer determination, they're just gone. And you're left with nothing but questions and grief and the terrible not knowing. That could be what happened to Lilly and Jack. They could be out there somewhere waiting to be found, and searchers just haven't looked in the right place yet. If that's true, then Daniel's behavior, as problematic as it is, it's irrelevant to their disappearance. It's just noise. It's just a troubled man making bad choices under impossible pressure. But we can't ignore the other possibility. The possibility that Daniel knows more than he's saying. The possibility that something happened on his watch, something he's hiding. Not necessarily that he harmed them deliberately, but maybe that he was negligent. Maybe he wasn't watching them as closely as he should have been. Maybe they got into something dangerous and he didn't react quickly enough. Maybe there was an accident and he panicked and covered it up. These are all possibilities. We don't have evidence for any of them, but we can't rule them out either. And this is where Daniel's self-sabotage becomes so damaging. Because even if he's completely innocent, even if he had nothing to do with Lilly and Jack's disappearance, his behavior has made it impossible for people to trust him. His lies about the blanket. His controlling treatment of women. His constant need to be at the center of the narrative. His attempts to manipulate media coverage. All of it adds up to a picture of someone who is hiding something. And when you're hiding something in a missing person's case, people assume the worst. They assume guilt. They assume involvement. Whether that's fair or not, it's human nature. So what should Daniel have done? What should he be doing now? The answer is simple. Step back. Stop talking to content creators. Stop sending screenshots. Stop trying to control the narrative. Let the RCMP do their job. Let the professionals investigate. Let the search teams search. And if you really want to help find Lilly and Jack, then go into the woods and look. Don't post about it on social media. Don't give interviews. Just go out there day after day and search. Actions speak louder than words. And right now, Daniel's actions are speaking volumes, just not in the way he thinks they are. Sunny from It's a Crime and Shame asked the question that so many of us are thinking. At what point do you stop, Daniel? At what point do you realize you're sabotaging everything by what you're doing? You have 2 missing children and you're involving yourself in relationship drama and social media fights and trying to control what people say about you. It's getting thicker and thicker. You're drowning in your own behavior. And whether you're innocent or guilty, you're destroying any chance you had of being believed. That's the tragedy here. If Daniel is innocent, he's ensuring that nobody will ever see him that way. And if he's guilty, he's drawing more and more attention to himself, making it harder and harder to maintain whatever facade he's been trying to project. Let's talk about the bigger picture for a moment. Cases like this, cases with missing children and no clear answers, they expose something uncomfortable about human nature. We want villains. We want someone to blame. We want to point at a person and say, you did this, you're responsible, you're the monster. It makes us feel safer. It makes us feel like the world makes sense. If we can identify the bad guy, then we can protect ourselves and our children from becoming victims. But the truth is often messier than that. Sometimes there is no villain. Sometimes terrible things happen and nobody is to blame. A child wanders away. A parent falls asleep. A door is left unlocked. And in that brief window of opportunity, tragedy strikes. No malice. No intent. Just a horrible random accident. But our brains don't like that explanation. We want someone to be accountable. And in Lilly and Jack's case, Daniel Martel has become the person everyone wants to blame. Maybe because of his behavior. Maybe because of his pattern of controlling women. Maybe because he was there that night and he was supposed to be watching them. Maybe because he just feels guilty even if he isn't. But wanting him to be guilty doesn't make it so. We need evidence. We need proof. And right now we don't have it. We have suspicion. We have questions. We have behavior that doesn't inspire confidence. But we don't have evidence that Daniel harmed those children. And until we do, we have to hold our judgment, as hard as that is. Here's what we do know for certain. 2 children are missing. Lilly Sullivan, 6 years old. Jack Sullivan, 4 years old. They've been missing since May 2nd. It's now mid-October. Over 5 months. Their mother Malaya is grieving, trapped in an impossible situation where anything she does will be judged and criticized. Their stepfather Daniel is creating controversy and drama instead of helping the investigation. The RCMP is doing everything they can with the resources they have, but so far they haven't found the children. And somewhere out there, either in the woods waiting to be discovered or in a situation we don't want to imagine, Lily and Jack are still missing. That's the reality. That's what we're dealing with. And it's heartbreaking. I want to go back to something important, something that gets lost in all the controversy and speculation. The personality profile of someone like Daniel. Because understanding this helps us understand the entire dynamic of this case. Psychologists who specialize in domestic abuse and controlling relationships, they recognize a specific pattern. The abuser seeks out vulnerable partners. People with low self-esteem. People who have been hurt before. People who are isolated or desperate or just looking for someone to love them. And then the abuser slowly takes control. It doesn't happen all at once. It's gradual. Little comments that undermine confidence. Little rules that seem reasonable at first. Don't talk to that friend, they're a bad influence. Don't post that picture, it's inappropriate. Let me see your phone, I just want to make sure you're safe. Each individual request seems small. But together they build a cage. And before the victim realizes what's happening, they're trapped. Daniel gave Malaya an ultimatum when she was pregnant with Meadow. Drop your friends or I'll leave you. Think about the timing of that. She was pregnant. Vulnerable. Dependent. That's when he made his move. That's when he tightened the control. And Malaya, like so many domestic violence victims, she complied. She dropped her friends. She isolated herself. Because she believed she needed him. Because he made her believe that. This is textbook abusive behavior. And it's important to understand this because it explains so much about why this case has unfolded the way it has. Malaya's decision to leave on May 3rd makes sense in this context. Her reluctance to speak publicly makes sense. Her need for distance from Daniel makes sense. She's not a bad mother. She's a victim trying to survive. And Taylor, the girlfriend who came forward with the fake black eye, she fits the same pattern. She described Daniel as controlling, monitoring her social media, not allowing her to have male friends. Yes, she has mental health issues. Yes, she made terrible choices. But the core of what she said about Daniel's behavior, it matches what Malaya said. When two different women who don't know each other, who were in relationships with the same man at different times, describe the same controlling behavior, that's not coincidence. That's pattern. That's who Daniel is. And once you understand that, once you see him clearly, everything else about this case looks different. Does it mean he harmed Lily and Jack? No. I'll say it again because it's important. Being a controlling, abusive partner does not automatically make someone a child murderer. Those are two very different things. But it does mean we need to look at everything he says with skepticism. It does mean we can't take his word at face value. It does mean that when he claims he's the only one searching, the only one who cares, the only one championing Lily and Jack's cause, we have to question that. Because controlling people don't just control their partners. They try to control narratives. They try to control perception. They need to be seen as the hero, even when their actions don't match that image. So where does that leave content creators like me? Where does it leave people who want to help, who want to keep Lily and Jack's names alive, who want to put pressure on investigators to find answers? It's a genuine dilemma. The right thing to do might be to completely ignore Daniel. Stop showing his interviews. Stop talking about his behavior. Stop giving him the attention he craves. Just cut him out entirely and focus on the facts of the case. But can we do that? He was there the morning the children disappeared. He's connected to this case whether we like it or not. And if we ignore him completely, do we risk missing something important? Do we risk overlooking a clue that could lead to answers? I don't have a perfect solution. What I do know is that every time we talk about this case, every time we say Lily's name and Jack's name, we're keeping them in the public consciousness. We're making sure they're not forgotten. And that matters. Because cases that get forgotten, they don't get solved. Cases that people stop talking about, they fade away. The families are left with nothing but grief and unanswered questions. And I refuse to let that happen here. So yes, we talk about Daniel because he's part of the story. But we also talk about Malaya with more compassion now that we understand what she's been through. We talk about the search efforts and the cadaver dogs and the court documents and the redactions. We talk about everything because somewhere in all of this information, there might be an answer. Let me tell you what I think, and I want you to tell me what you think in the comments. Drop your theory. Drop your thoughts. Drop where you're watching from, because I want to know this community is global, that Lily and Jack matter to people everywhere. Here's what I think. I think there are two most likely scenarios. Scenario 1. Lily and Jack wandered away from the property on the night of May 1st or early morning of May 2nd. They got outside the search area, possibly moving in a direction no one anticipated. They encountered some kind of danger, exposure to elements, injury, water, predators, and they died somewhere in the wilderness. The reason they haven't been found is because searchers have been looking in the wrong place. Eventually, maybe months or years from now, a hunter or hiker will stumble across their remains and this terrible mystery will be solved. It's tragic. It's heartbreaking. But it's also the most statistically likely explanation for missing children in rural areas. Scenario 2. Something happened on Daniel's watch that night. Maybe it was an accident. Maybe the children got into something they shouldn't have, or fell, or suffocated, or drowned in a way that was preventable if Daniel had been paying attention. He panicked. He didn't know what to do. And instead of calling for help immediately, he covered it up. Maybe he moved the bodies. Maybe he staged the scene to look like the children wandered away. Maybe that's why Lily's blanket ended up where it did. Maybe that's why there's a suspicious boot print. This scenario would explain Daniel's behavior. His need to control the narrative. His lies about the blanket. His constant presence in media instead of actually searching. He's not looking for Lily and Jack because he knows he won't find them. He knows where they are. And he's trying to maintain the facade for as long as possible. Which scenario is true? I don't know. I genuinely don't know. And that's why I say I'm on the fence. I can see evidence for both. I can see how either could be true. And until we have more information, until those court document redactions are lifted, until we know what the cadaver dogs found, if anything, until the RCMP releases more details, we're stuck in this terrible limbo of not knowing. What I do know is that Daniel's behavior has made the second scenario more plausible than it might otherwise be. If he had just stayed quiet, if he had cooperated fully with investigators and then stepped back, if he had let the professionals do their jobs without trying to control everything, people wouldn't suspect him the way they do. But he didn't do that. He couldn't do that. Because control is who he is. And that need for control, that inability to step back, that's what's destroying him now. I think about Malaya often. I think about what she must be going through. Your children are missing. You don't know if they're alive or dead. You're grieving. You're terrified. You're desperate for answers. And on top of all that, you have to deal with public judgment. People calling you a bad mother. People questioning why you left Daniel. People analyzing your every word and action. And you can't defend yourself without revealing the abuse you suffered. And even when you do reveal it, people still judge you. How do you survive that? How do you get through each day? I don't know that I could. I think it takes a strength that most of us will never have to find in ourselves. And I think Malaya deserves more compassion than she's gotten. Whatever mistakes she made as a mother, and every parent makes mistakes, she doesn't deserve this. She doesn't deserve to lose her children and then be vilified for how she's handling the loss. And Lily and Jack, innocent babies who didn't ask for any of this, they deserve justice. They deserve answers. They deserve to be found. Whether they wandered into the woods and got lost, or whether something more sinister happened, they deserve for the truth to come out. And that's why we keep talking. That's why we keep asking questions. That's why we refuse to let this case fade into obscurity. Because Lily Sullivan and Jack Sullivan matter. Their lives mattered. Their disappearance matters. And finding out what happened to them matters. So what happens now? What's next in this case? The RCMP investigation continues. They have information we don't have. They have evidence they haven't released. They're building whatever case they can build if there's a case to build. The cadaver dogs did their work. We're waiting to find out what that means. The court documents exist with heavy redactions. Maybe someday those redactions will be lifted and we'll learn more. And Daniel continues to sabotage himself, creating more controversy, more drama, more reasons for people to suspect him. Whether he's innocent or guilty, he's his own worst enemy. And that's the saddest part of this from his perspective. If he is innocent, he's ensuring that nobody will ever believe him. He's destroyed his own credibility completely. For those of us watching, for those of us who care, all we can do is wait and hope and keep saying their names. Lily Sullivan. Jack Sullivan. 6 years old and 4 years old. Missing since May 2nd. If you know anything, if you saw anything, if you have any information at all, contact the RCMP. Don't assume someone else has already reported it. Don't assume it's not important. Every piece of information matters. Every detail could be the one that breaks this case open. And if you're watching this video, if you've made it this far, you care. You care about these children. You care about finding answers. So help me spread this story. Share this video. Tell people about Lily and Jack. Keep their names alive. Because that's how cases get solved. That's how missing children get found. Through awareness. Through pressure. Through people who refuse to forget. Let me tell you about some of the other cases I mentioned earlier because they're relevant here. Summer Wells disappeared from her home in Hawkins County, Tennessee on June 15, 2021. She was 5 years old. Her father Don Wells became a controversial figure, giving interviews, making statements, behaving in ways that made people suspicious. Sound familiar? The controversy around Don kept Summer's name in the news for months. But eventually Don stopped talking. He withdrew from public view. And when he did, coverage of Summer's case dropped off dramatically. It became harder to talk about her because there was nothing new to report. The same thing happened with Sebastian Rogers. He disappeared from Hendersonville, Tennessee in February 2024. He was 15. There was intense coverage at first, but as weeks turned into months with no new information, the coverage faded. These cases are still unsolved. These children are still missing. And the lack of public attention makes it less likely they'll ever be found. That's what we're trying to avoid with Lilly and Jack. We're trying to keep the attention on them. And yes, sometimes that means talking about Daniel's controversial behavior, because that's what generates discussion and keeps people engaged. It's not ideal. It's not what we'd choose in a perfect world. But in a world where dozens of children go missing every month and most of them are forgotten within weeks, we use whatever tools we have to keep the ones we know about in the public eye. So when I talk about Daniel's self-sabotage, when I analyze his controlling behavior, when I question his motives, it's not just to criticize him. It's to keep this case alive. It's to make sure people are still talking about Lilly and Jack 5 months later. Because the alternative is silence. And silence doesn't find missing children. If you've watched this entire video, if you're still here with me right now, thank you. Thank you for caring. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being part of a community that refuses to let these children be forgotten. If you haven't liked this video yet, do it now. Not for me, for Lilly and Jack. Because every like tells the algorithm to push this video to more people. Every comment, every share, every bit of engagement means more eyes on this case. And more eyes means more chance that someone knows something. Someone saw something. Someone can help. So leave a comment right now. Tell me where you're watching from. Tell me your theory. Tell me anything. Just engage with this video so it reaches more people. Before we close, I want to address one more thing. The question of what content creators should do going forward. Should we keep covering Daniel's behavior? Should we ignore him? It's a genuine ethical question and I don't have a perfect answer. What I know is this. If Daniel stops getting attention, if we all collectively decide to ignore him, he might finally step back. He might stop creating drama. And that would be good for the investigation. But it might also mean less coverage of Lilly and Jack's case overall. Because let's be honest, controversy drives engagement. Controversy keeps cases in the news. And without controversy, cases fade away. So maybe the answer is that we keep covering the case but we shift focus. We talk less about Daniel's relationship drama and more about the facts. The search efforts. The investigation. The timeline. The evidence. We keep saying Lilly's name and Jack's name. We keep pressure on the RCMP to release information. We keep the case alive without feeding Daniel's need for attention. That's the balance I'm trying to strike. It's not perfect, but it's what I can do. Here's my final thought, and then I want to hear yours. 5 months is a long time. It's long enough that we have to start preparing ourselves for the possibility that Lilly and Jack won't be found alive. I don't want to believe that. Every fiber of my being hopes they're out there somewhere, that they survived, that there will be a miracle. But I also have to be realistic. The statistics aren't good. The longer children are missing, especially young children in rural areas, the less likely they are to be found alive. And if they're not alive, if the worst has happened, then what we owe them is truth. We owe them justice. We owe them answers for their mother, for their family, for everyone who loves them. And that means we can't stop asking questions. We can't stop demanding information. We can't stop saying their names. Lilly Sullivan. Jack Sullivan. Say their names with me. Say them in the comments. Say them out loud. Don't let them be forgotten. Don't let them become just another statistic. They were real children with real lives. Lilly was 6 years old. Think about a 6-year-old, you know. The way they laugh. The way they ask endless questions. The way they're starting to figure out the world. That was Lilly. Jack was 4 years old. Still a baby really. Still believing in magic. Still seeing wonder in everything. That was Jack. They deserve to be remembered as more than just a missing persons case. They deserve to be remembered as the children they were. Thank you for following Lilly and Jack's story to the end. Thank you for caring enough to watch this entire video. If this case moved you, and I think it must have if you're still here, hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. We cover cases that deserve to be heard. We tell stories with respect and depth. We refuse to let missing people be forgotten. Share your thoughts, your feelings, your final theory in the comments. Tell me where you're watching from. Build this community with me. Because together we have a voice. Together we can keep pressure on investigators. Together we can make sure Lily and Jack are never forgotten. And Daniel, if you're watching this, if you somehow see this video, here's what I want to say to you. Stop. Just stop. Stop talking to content creators. Stop sending screenshots. Stop trying to control the narrative. If you're innocent, if you truly had nothing to do with Lily and Jack's disappearance, then step back and let the investigation proceed. Your behavior is destroying any chance you have of being believed. And if you're not innocent, if you know something you haven't told investigators, then do the right thing. Tell the truth. Give Malaya closure. Give Lily and Jack the dignity they deserve. Whatever happened that night, whatever you're hiding, if you're hiding anything, the truth will come out eventually. It always does. And the longer you wait, the worse it will be. To everyone else, to this community we're building, don't give up on Lily and Jack. Don't let this case fade. Keep talking about it. Keep sharing it. Keep demanding answers. Because that's how justice happens. That's how missing children get found. Through people who care. Through people who refuse to forget. Through people like you who watched this entire video and showed that these children matter. Lily Sullivan. Jack Sullivan. We will not forget you. We will keep saying your names. We will keep searching for truth. Until you're found. Until we have answers. Until justice is served. We will not forget. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe and share. And most importantly, never stop caring. Never stop asking questions. Never stop fighting for the missing. They need us. All of them. Every single one. And together we can make sure their stories are told, their names are remembered, and their lives are honored. Until next time, stay safe, hold your loved ones close, and never take a single moment for granted. Because as Lily and Jack's case shows us, everything can change in an instant. Everything can be taken away. And all we're left with is love, memory, and the determination to find truth no matter how long it takes.